Okay, so we're back in the shop today, and we're going to be building a mobile workbench with a built-in table saw. Now, it's a project that I wanted to do for quite some time, kind of organize the shop here a little bit better, and find a more permanent spot for my table saw. So the dimensions of our bench are going to be roughly around 3 foot wide by 6 feet long, maybe right around 4 feet tall. Give us something to really kind of work off of. So our first step is going to be to organize and to cut our lumber for our framing. So let's get to it. Okay, so now we have our lumber load organized, and we're going to start cutting out for our rough framing. For that, we're going to need 4 2x4s at 6 feet long, 4 2x4s at 33 inches, and 4 2x4s at 41.5 inches. Now, don't worry about trying to follow along with the lumber load list, because I'll have it all written down below in the comments. So let's start cutting our 2x4s. Okay, so now that we have the lumber cut for our rough framing, what we're going to want to do is assemble the base. And for that, we're going to take our 2 outer boards, put them on the outside, and sandwich our ends in between them. Now you're going to want to pre-drill the ends of these 2x4s, as you don't want to split the lumber. For that, I recommend using an 1/8 inch bit, and then sink in your screw slowly. You know, adjusting for pressure, not to split the lumber. So we're going to go ahead and pre-drill that now and start assembling. Now do the same for all 4 sides, and then set your base off to the side for now. Okay, so before we start assembling our top half, we're going to take a couple quick measurements of our table saw. Kind of get the dimensions for where it's going to sit in the table itself. So we're going to measurement widthwise and lengthwise. So widthwise we have 26 1/8. Lengthwise we have 17 3/8. So at 17 3/8, we're going to know where we're going to put our backstop on our upper half of our table. So we're going to go ahead and start assembling that now. Okay, so to start off our top half, what we're going to do is we're going to come off one of the ends at 17 3/8, and we're going to mark that. So let's do that now. Mark it at 17 3/8, both sides. Put a square mark on top just so we know where we're at. And that'll tell us where our back brace is going to go for our table saw. So we'll go ahead and we'll pre-drill that, get that installed, and then we'll install our back brace on our end too. And that'll tie together the top half. Okay, so now that you got your top half built, give it a quick check with your square. Make sure that you're within the ballpark of being square. As we're pretty good here, we're going to take this top half, we're going to set it off to the side for now, and we're going to rip down our plywood. Now, seeing as our table is going to be 3x6, that's what we're going to rip down our plywood at, 3 feet by 6 feet. So, take our top half here, we'll set it off to the side. And we'll mark and measure our plywood and we'll get it cut. Okay, so now we're going to rip down our plywood. Now for that, it's going to be pretty simple and straightforward. It's 3 feet by 6 feet. So we'll mark 6 feet in the length. We'll do that right now. Marking 6 feet. Both sides. Take a straight edge. We'll work got to go on both marks. Good pencil scribes. Give you a nice dark line to follow. Up over here on the length, what we'll do is, seeing as it's a 4-foot sheet of plywood, we'll hold our tape out 12 inches, butt it up next to the plywood, and we'll just scribe right down the side. Careful of the knots. That gives us something nice and straight to follow. So we'll go ahead and rip that down now, and then we'll start assembling. Okay, so for the next step, we're going to move everything to the ground, and we're going to take our lower half, and we're going to take some of our corner posts, and what we'll do is we'll set them in there, and we will tack them for now with 1 screw each board. It'll kind of give us some room later for a little bit of leverage in case we have to square things off or plumb everything up. So we'll pre-drill this out, and we'll put 1 screw in each board for now. Okay, so this is what you should have now. You should have 4 posts, 1 on each corner, each tacked with 1 screw each. So our next step now is going to take one of our rips of plywood, and we're going to lay it in for our bottom shelf. So let's do that now. Tie it up as best you can on the ends. And let's drop her in. Okay, perfect fit. What do you know? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and tack this down. We're going to use 1 5/8" zinc coated screws. So we're going to go around, we're going to put one in probably every 8 to 10 inches. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now that the plywood's on, we're going to go ahead and take a few minutes. We're going to kind of level up each post. Just kind of get them, for the most part, straight where they have to go. And then we'll start getting ready to prep to install our top. So let's go ahead, level it off pretty much where it has to go. And we'll get a nice mark on the bottom. It'll tell us where it goes. We'll go ahead and do that all the way around. Okay, next, what we're going to do is we're going to set up some temporary ledger boards towards the top to kind of hold our top in place as we're going to go ahead and install it. So, you're going to measure down 3.5 inches, which is the width of our top. 3.5. Put a straight line across. And install a temporary ledger board. That's going to hold up our top so we can fasten it. So we're going to go ahead and install these now, and we'll go ahead and slide the top in. Okay, so with all of our temporary ledger boards installed, we're going to go ahead and take the top and we're going to drop it down in there. See how everything fits. Okay, everything's in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around, we're going to tack everything with 1 screw, and then we're going to level everything out again. After that, we should be able to go around, finish screwing in all the posts. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now that the posts are all secured, the top's installed, everything's screwed down, we're going to go ahead and remove our temporary ledger boards. Then we're going to flip the entire unit over and we're going to install the casters to give us our mobility. So let's go ahead and remove the ledger boards and then we'll flip it. Okay, with the table flipped over, we've installed our casters. But what we've done is we've installed blocking on the corners. Kind of sturdies up each corner, gives something to tie in each side to, and it gives us a little bit more meat to tie into our casters. So with our casters installed, we're going to flip it back over and we're going to start building the tray for the table saw to sit on top of. Okay, so now that our casters have been installed and our table's been flipped back over, our next step is going to be to start building the shelf that the table saw is going to sit on. Our first step that is going to be marking the bottom where the uprights are going to go for the cross brace to sit. So we're going to measure off back 17 3/8. We're going to mark that on the bottom as well, front and back. So 17 3/8. All the way up. 17 3/8. Now we're going to put a 2x4 from bottom to the top at 17 3/8, matching each side. Then we're going to put a cross brace in between both of them, front and back, for the shelf to sit on. So let's go ahead and get that started. Okay, so once your posts are installed, you're going to start cutting your cross braces and measure in between each front and back post on each side of the shelf. Once you have those cut, you're going to measure the height of your table saw to know the height that you're going to install them at. So the height of our table saw here is 11 1/16. Now you're going to want it pretty accurate, as you're going to want the top of the table saw to be flush with the top of the workbench itself. So let's go ahead and get those cross braces cut and installed at 11 1/16 down. Okay, so now that your shelf's been built, your plywood's been cut and installed on top, what you're going to want to start doing is framing out a round for your table saw. So it sits in there nice and tight, it won't move on you, that sort of thing. So first off, what you're going to do is you're going to center the table saw in between. So you're going to get the inner diameter here. You're going to want to mark a center line. So we have 33, so we'll mark it 16 1/2. Put a mark on there. Then we'll measure the table saw itself. And that's at 26. So we'll cut that in half at 13. And then we'll match up the lines, just so. Okay, now that that's matched up, we'll get a measurement on the outside of the table saw on each side. So it's 3 1/2 on each side. We'll cut two 3 1/2-inch blocks, and then we'll cut two blocks from the inside of the base on the table to the outside. And that is 17 1/4 on each. Okay, we'll get those cut, and then we'll show you how to install them. Okay, so now that all our blocks have been cut, we're going to put them together something like this, one for each side. Set each one where it goes, and then we'll install them like this. Outer edge will be butt tighted here, and it'll be butt tight on the back. Two screws in the back, a couple here toe-nailed in, give us a nice tight space for our table saw to sit in between. So let's go ahead and install those now. Okay, so now that we've fitted our table saw where it needs to go, everything's installed for our framing. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the table saw, we're going to slide the top over where it goes, and we're going to scribe the underneath of it for our cutout. So let's go ahead and take the table saw down. We'll set it underneath. Slide our top where we need to go. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to hold it in place. We'll come over here and we'll tack two of the corners. So just to hold it in place for now. Okay, then we're going to scribe underneath. And what that'll do is that'll give us the perfect cutout. Now don't throw away your cutout just yet, because we have plans for that as well. Okay, we're going to take the table off, we're going to cut the top, and we're going to lay it back into place. Okay, so we put the table saw back in, we've taken our cut top, we've laid it where it goes, kind of dry fit it, see if we like everything. Now we'll go around the edges and we'll screw everything down. Okay, so our table is about done now. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take our cutoff piece from our tabletop and we're going to mount a vise on there in order to be able to remove the table saw and add the vise whenever we need it. Because we don't want just a table that's going to be strictly just for cutting. Sometimes we're going to need a vise on here, sometimes you need an extra set of hands. So that's where this is going to come into play. So our first step is going to be mounting the vise on the board. We're going to position the vise where we want it. We're going to pre-drill the holes and we're going to bolt it on here. Then we're going to go around the edges of our cutoff piece and we're going to frame it out with 2x2 underneath. That's going to give us a way to mount it in the hole for the table saw. So let's go ahead and start by mounting the vise and then we'll cut our 2x2 pieces for size. Okay, so what we've done now is we've taken our cutout for the top of our workbench and we've mounted 2x2 all around the bottom. One down the center for a little bit of support, and we've mounted our vise from the underneath on top of the board, like this. So what this is going to allow us to do is swap out our table saw with our vise when we have need of it. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Slide our table saw out, store it underneath, take our vise, slide it in position, and we've installed barrel bolts on the end to lock it into place. So we'll go ahead and lock that in, keep it from flipping one way or the other. Now we have a vise mounted on top of our bench that'll rotate 360 degrees. So that's about it for our video today. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and try and build one. Have fun with it. So we'll catch you next time. Okay, so that'll about wrap it up for this project. It was a fun little project to build, but it's really nice now to have a mobile workbench with the option of a table saw or a vise that I can move all around the shop, or even externally if I have the need to. So that'll about do it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.